Okay, hello and welcome to,
Wisdom for menopause and beyond.
and we're going to talk about things from midlife, post-menopause, that sort of thing. And today, Alison is going to talk about one of her things that she does,
Thing,
one of my
yeah, I
things
think.
that she does in training and helping people and
Mm.
that sort of work, which is about assertiveness.
Yes, assertiveness.
Okay,
Yeah, because we were actually thinking that we thought it's actually quite misunderstood, assertiveness.
it is. And certainly when we were talking about it,
Mm.
I tend to sort of put assertiveness with aggression
Mm.
or with it sort of has that
Bit pushy.
pushiness
Yeah,
about it.
over the
Or
top.
if
Yeah.
you're assertive, it's like, when people do that, I don't want to be rude, but and you
Mm.
think the next thing you say is going to be
It's going
rude.
to be rude,
Well,
isn't
you
it?
see very often in these
Mm.
awful
Passive
life
aggressive, I would say.
all those awful lifestyle programs where people
Mm.
talk about um, I speak as I find, and I'm just open and I tell everyone what I
Thoughtless.
think. And you think, yes, so you're rude.
Yeah. Or, you're not, as we say, as I say, the Buddha said, tell the truth, two conditions. Is it kind and is it necessary? So I'm just going to leave you with that one to start with.
Okay,
Because, tell the truth, yes, but, is it kind? Is it
so
necessary? Are you
in
just
this
dumping on somebody else?
in this video, we're going to talk about
Yeah,
what we feel or what Alison, in her experience,
yeah,
understands as
yeah,
assertiveness, but we're also going to give you tips of
yeah,
how you can actually apply it to you and how you feel you may have been under or over or whatever you think. And if you feel
mm,
that there's more that we've missed out, please put that in the comments, let us know.
yes,
But it's not just telling you what we think about it,
no,
it's trying to help you reflect on whether you feel
yeah.
you
Do you
can
need to use this?
you're going to
Yeah.
need to use
So
that.
what we're actually going to do, because you see, what I say is assertiveness isn't who you are. You're not
Okay.
an assertive person, an aggressive person, a passive person. It's a response style. And it depends on the situation that you're in and the people that you're with. And we probably use all of those. Those are kind of three main response styles that I would say, kind of that we use. And I'll
Okay.
explain what they are in a second. But just to say, it's always a choice, assertiveness. You don't have to be assertive. It's not like it's going to get me brownie points or anything else. Anybody's watching or judging. Um, so yeah, so the three response styles, and it's like the first one I always talk about is what I'd say non-assertive, or some people might talk about it as passive.
Okay.
So that's the people that look a bit like a doormat and they don't ever speak up for themselves. And the other thing, the way to look at response styles is it's the kind of body language that's going on the tone of voice. So a passive person doesn't really want to speak up. So they might have that mumbly voice and they might not, sometimes you find people talk with their hand in front of their mouth, which is a really good way of not being heard.
Mm.
And so they kind of don't, they have maybe a little bit of wobbly tone, they're just not really putting it out there. And their body language is going to be very defensive,
Right.
very kind of closed in, protective and hoping. They're hard to make eye contact with these kind of people. And you can think, where, I'm over here. But yeah, so a bit like that. And they might be always making excuses and they're always going to do themselves down. Oh, it's just me. I remember hearing an ex-boss of mine say, I'm just a woman driver. Oh no, I don't
Well,
think
you
so.
are a woman driver,
But
but
it's
this the
not
just.
just a woman driver. So yeah, so there's that kind of thing. And it's almost like, well, maybe kind of lots of qualifiers, if it's all right with you. And their general overall message is you're okay, but I'm not okay. So that's the kind of person as I'm
What
talking
would
about
make
this.
you more okay?
Yeah, exactly.
Mm.
And then it's just kind of thinking about if you know people like this, think of it. It's easier if you can kind of think, oh, do I know people that actually tend to react like that? So then we've got aggressive, and there are kind of two types. There's kind of out and out aggression. I mean, this is the Alan Sugars of this world. This is no, you're fired, pointy, 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 a bit shouty, always somebody else's fault, never themselves to blame, always watching out for things you're going to do wrong. And actually it's their opinions, but they're stated as facts.
So this is still a reaction.
Yeah,
Like you've gone to
yeah,
somebody or
yeah.
something's happened
Yeah, and
and
this
they've
person responds
chosen
in
to
this
be
way. Yeah, they
aggressive.
respond in this way. So you might find, that some people just have found that that's a way that they do it mostly, and You look, as I say, would I want to work with Alan Sugar? Absolutely not.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of aggressive boss that was kind of fashionable in the 1950s. Not really nowadays, but that kind of thing about being aggressive, being overpowering. The kind of message is, I'm okay, you're not okay.
Again.
So there's you're not okay, whereas I'm okay this time. It's the other way around. So what they're kind of saying is they're pointing out all the things that are wrong, and you would tend to feel a bit undermined by that person. And this is where we get passive aggressive. So when you said about what was that one? I don't want to be rude or
Oh
something.
yeah, I don't want to be rude, but
Passive aggressive. So
yes.
it's going,
Because
it's,
you've already given yourself out, and now I'm going to be really aggressively
and I'm going
rude.
to be rude. I'm going to be rude. And I might say it in a lovely soft tone of voice, but actually I'm going to undermine you. And you're going to leave that encounter feeling a bit shit,
Mm,
really.
mm.
So that's another thing to spot. How do you feel when you experience a particular response style? So coming to assertiveness is a way where somebody is kind of basically saying, well, I'm okay and you're okay. So they might frown when they're angry and they might, smile when they're happy. So it's kind of appropriate. Whereas with aggressive person, they're going,
Mm.
so it's a smile, it's really over the top. Whereas the aggressive person is, right, okay, I'm a bit cross about that. But they will own their own opinions.
Mm.
I feel that. Whereas an aggressive person is saying, this is a fact, even though it's only their opinion. An assertive person would say, I think that. So it's my opinion. And
And
that's
what do
not
you
true.
what's you're inviting another
Yes,
response to
much
that?
more inviting,
Yeah.
much more open body
It's
language.
not that you're not okay, and it's
Yeah.
not that I'm not okay. We may
Yeah, we're
that
both okay. We're both okay. We're both coming from an okay place and actually thinking, yeah, all right, I'm interested. I'm curious about what you're
so
thinking.
as we go through life, what you're saying is we need to sort of be very aware of being
Mhm.
assertive and not being
When
falling
we
off.
want to, when we want to
Well,
be.
yes, but then yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
You see, because as I say, I always used to tell a joke around it saying, assertion is always a choice. And then my joke was, a guy rushes into a pub and he says, who the hell painted my car green? And this huge guy, about 8 foot tall, he's like built like a goalpost and all the rest of it. And he goes, I did, what of it? And the guy went, just came in to tell you the first coat's dry. So, in that instance, if it's going to be physically threatening, you may not want to be assertive. You
Yes.
may want to just say, I'm just going into the non-assertive, because what happens is I find with non-assertive passive people, there's either two things. You either want to rescue
Mm,
them, poor thing, and then you realise that you've had a lot of conversations with them where you've offered them solutions and they haven't taken any of them.
yes.
And then you get very annoyed. So it's those two reactions happen. With an aggressive person, you might actually fight back, which is where we get road rage, is
Mm,
where people react to aggression with aggression. That's what it might trigger in you. Or you go underground. If it's a boss, you leave, so all of those kind of things. So you kind of go underground. So assertion is a good,
it's a
middle
good
way,
thing.
if you like,
Yep, yep.
so that kind of
And then
thing.
we judge where we go with that.
Yeah, so what I would say is, so non-assertion is kind of about trying to get you what you want without actually taking action. So you might kind of go, I'm thirsty,
No.
thirsty.
And I can see myself responding, going, oh.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So yeah, aggression is threatening and put downs.
Mm,
Really, really, you're always like this. It's just you. It's always down to you. You always say this, all these completely ridiculous things that people say to blame you. And then, assertiveness is about standing up for yourself without putting other people down. So the type of feeling is, as I said, you might get irritated with a non-assertive person, you might get subdued by an aggressive person, but an assertive person should make you feel kind of heard
yes.
and listened to,
Yeah.
when
Heard
you
and
come to
listened
that.
to, I think, is the key.
Yeah, so given that it's a response style, there are some basic techniques.
Okay. Yep. Always rely on Alison for the techniques.
Techniques,
Get your notebooks,
practical.
guy.
This is
Here we go.
practical. This is practical. So when we talk about basic or straightforward, it's just you're standing up for your rights. So you might actually be in a situation where you say, I need to leave by 5 o'clock.
Mhm.
So there's no heat in that. There's no blame in it. There's no excuse making.
I need to leave by 5 o'clock. And normally I would work till 5:15, but on this one occasion that
Yeah,
I have to, and it's
exactly.
not my fault, it's British
No,
Rail that and you think,
no.
just go.
I just need to live by 5 o'clock. So you just
Yeah.
stand up for yourself. You could try a bit of empathy, around that. You could say, it could be something if you've got a really busy boss, you might say, I understand that you're busy, but I really do need to have 10 minutes of your time. So you're standing up for yourself, you're sympathizing with what they're going through, but you still say, but I still need to speak
This
to
this
you.
still has to happen.
This has to happen.
How can we make this happen? You're almost
Yes.
saying,
Yeah. Yeah.
can I not putting yourself down, but is there,
Mm.
if it's inconvenient, is there a way of negotiating that
Yeah. I
inconvenience?
understand it, but
Yeah.
this still needs to happen. And then
Mm.
the person can say, right, in 10 minutes, great,
Yeah.
fine. You might point out a discrepancy, the difference between what is going on and what has been agreed. So
Okay.
it could be, in my last appraisal, we talked about me taking on more responsibility, and I'm still keen to do that.
Right.
So you're still kind of saying, yeah, it's not happening, but you're just saying, well, we did agree this, but it's kind of not happening.
And I'm still willing to, again, it's
Yeah, I'm
sort of
willing to take that time.
negotiable. Had you forgotten?
Yeah,
Have we redo it?
yeah.
So you're not going, you said, and you haven't.
You're
You're
such a
actually,
rubbish boss. You said,
you're actually
yeah,
still in that. Well, I don't particularly want to go down the negotiating road, but I can
yeah,
a bit.
yeah.
It's if
We have already agreed it,
yeah,
so can we just go with that?
yeah, get that.
So it's good. Sometimes you might be expressing some negative feelings. So remember, it's your feelings. So it could be, I mean, I have had this before where I've had a friend that was always late,
Mm,
always late. And, at times you think, well, that's just the price of meeting this person. But then you think, you know what, I'm a bit fed up. And particularly, I think when it was, I had to get a babysitter and I was a single parent, I got out and they'd be half an hour late and I'd be going, So it's actually, if you want that to change, you might say, so when you're late, when we're meeting up, I feel that you don't value our friendship
mm. Or
because you've
maybe,
not made it important to be
or
to
would you then in that, is it valuable in that case to say, it when you're late, whatever.
this is how I feel.
Do you want
Yeah.
to in future perhaps meet half an hour later, or would that still make you? I mean,
They're always going to be late, aren't
they're
they?
always
They're always going
well.
to be late. People are always going to be late
So I'm just
if they're late
experimenting with
people.
where you feel it
But
goes.
you don't know, you shouldn't offer them a solution in a
This
sense.
is
They need to come to
they
you.
need to come to
They
you.
need to say
So
this would,
there's your assertive, that you're not
yeah.
filling the gap. You're just
You're
saying
not fixing it for them.
you solve
You
it.
don't fix
I
it for
think that's
them.
an important point, that
Yeah.
you're not fixing it for the other
No,
person.
you give them agency in that
Mm,
conversation because it would be a non-assertive person that you'd fix it. Oh, we could do this, we could do that. You'd have a lot of solutions. You don't need to do that as an assertive person because they're okay. You're okay, they're okay. So this is how I feel when you're late. I
mm.
feel a bit like you don't, and then you might want to say, what is the consequence of that? And if it kind of continues to happen, then I might not be able to see you quite so often.
Mm.
So there is a consequence, but it's on your side.
Yes.
So a consequence that you feel happy with,
Yeah.
So I've got a negative feeling about this. This would be a consequence if it just
Yeah.
keeps on the same
If it
as
keeps
it
on the
does.
same, yeah.
You can, then I love the, actually, no, actually before that, you could respond to them. So could be, what would work for you?
Mm.
So if you're always like, what would work for you? What would work for you? So then you're actually responding to them, but actually inviting them to come up
Yeah.
with a solution.
Yeah. And they might say meeting half an hour late, and you say, well, we can try that.
Let's try that.
I, I
Yeah.
I'm convinced it won't work, but you can keep that bit to one side.
Yes, you just keep that in your little negative going
Yeah,
on.
that's it.
And the last one I'm going to talk about is one that has got, people call that broken record, which is where you just keep on saying the same thing.
Mm.
And this is, I think, where assertiveness has got a bit of a bad name because it is bloody annoying.
Mm.
So I mean, I used to kind of think of it. I always use it. I'd like you to do the washing up now. When that's the chore that your child has agreed that they're going to do, and you say, I'd like to do the washing up now, and they go, just a minute, I will do it later. I've just got to watch this program. You've got all these different kind of things. And then you get into an argument about it. So repeated assertion is saying, don't get into the argument about it. Just keep saying the same thing. But it is bloody annoying.
Right.
So I would recommend, um, a kind of repeated assertion that's responsive to what they say. So, I'd like you to do the washing up now. I'll do it later. That's not going to work for me, so I'd like you to do the washing up now.
Yeah.
Can I watch the end of this program? Well, you have watched 3 episodes of that program already, so I'd like you to do the washing up now.
Would it be convenient to say, you can watch this one, but that's my final offer? Or would that be weakening?
I think it depends how long this conversation goes on.
And how many times they've done
And how
another.
many, yeah, and if it's
Yeah.
another 5 minutes, and if you know that no matter how many times they say I'll do it at the end of this program, they don't
They
do it, and
don't.
then you end up doing it at 11 o'clock at night, and they've gone to bed and all the rest of it, and then you wake up and then you're in a snit and all the rest of it is going on. So I'd kind of be fond of just saying, or you could say, well, we tried that last time and it didn't work, and it's all about it doesn't work for me. I can see it might work for you not to do it right now, but actually it doesn't work for me. So I want you to do it now. So you kind of will respond to what they say, but you're basically still making the same request, but you're showing that you're listening.
Yeah.
So rather than just repeating the same thing, broken record over and over and over and over again, which is tedious and annoying.
Yes.
And I would imagine might drive people to aggression, actually.
I think it would drive me to do the washing up myself. Which is really the wrong one.
I know. So those are some basic ideas. And it is just about, it's like sometimes you might think, I'd like to be more assertive in this situation. And some of those basic techniques might work. But sometimes it's been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
The situation been going on for a long time. And so I've got another technique.
Okay, let's hear that.
How about that? So this is called OOF.
Oh, I like that.
Options, outcomes, feelings.
Okay.
So what options do you have in that situation? And remembering that it is always an option to stay the same.
Always.
Always an option to stay the same.
Yeah.
When you look at the different options, you might say, do you know what? Actually, those are too difficult for me, or I don't want to do that at the moment. Or do you know what? It's not worth it, or whatever it is. I mean, I quite often came up with that one with my mother. God love her. It's like the things like that. I'd like to be a bit more assertive on my mother. And then I kind of go through all the things. I'm thinking, no, none of those are going to work. And do you know what? She's 84.
Yeah.
It's not good. She's not going to change.
No.
So I think I'm just going to live with it. And then you just have to look at how you respond to that situation.
But I think that's still an assertive response from what
You
said.
are choosing.
Because you're choosing and you're saying, do you know what? At your age, with everything you've been through, you're okay. I disagree with you and I'm okay. And if you're looking at you're okay and I'm okay as sort of the touch paper, I think that it's not really doing nothing. It's assuring you that you're okay with that.
No, I always remember the conversation was one time we were having a dinner in a pub and there was some music playing. I think it was something really outrageous, like Simon and Garfunkel.
Oh my goodness.
Something outrageous like that. And my mum went, "What's that horrible noise?"
That's you talking, Mum. No, sorry.
And I said,
that would have been aggressive.
I said, "It's music." And she went, "If you like to call it that." And I said, "Well, Mum, whether you like it or not, it is in fact music. That is what it is." And that's kind of as far as I went with that one. I just thought, now let's just get on with our dinner. And she just went, and then she just, right, fair enough.
Yeah.
That was as far as I went with it. But yeah, so options, options, outcomes, and feelings. So you look at any situation where you'd like it to change, and it's a way of thinking, do I want to be more assertive in this situation or not at this time? So I use this one, and I think we might get into a bit of disagreement about this. It's the one where you say, you've just had a really hard day at work, you've just had a whole load of clients, they've all just given you a whole load of grief, you just want to sit down with a glass of wine, you want to watch some dreadful television, for me it would probably be Drag Race, something. I just don't want to talk to anybody, I just want to sit down, I just want to be on my own and recuperate. And you see this lovely friend of yours and they're coming down the road, and you think, oh my God, they're coming to my house, and this is a lovely friend who talks all the time. And you're thinking,
I think we spoke about this and I said, I know the friend.
You know the friend. You know the friend.
Know the friend.
So what are the options? Okay. So what could be an option in that situation?
Well, the option is to run and hide.
That's right.
Run and hide.
Yeah.
It's not an option I would do.
Yeah. So you could run and hide. You could pretend you're not in. You could not answer the doorbell. So what would the outcome of that be?
the outcome of that, you see, for me, the outcome would just be I can just see complications. That's where my brain goes.
Oh, right. So that's probably in the feelings bracket.
Yeah, well, I'll be discovered, or karma will get me back.
Okay. Oh, you have that one as well.
I'll have
Oh
that
my
one as
God.
well, or something would
So yeah.
happen. So, and then I get into so many things that I now have a rule that I just play a straight bat,
Yeah.
as I call it. And it's
Okay.
just like, that's life. And I also, because I am a bit weird like this, and I
Mm,
believe in the
mm,
karma,
mm.
I think I'd just go, well, you never know. It's come for a reason. There might be something here that's
Right.
good.
That's a different
But
different
that's a
option.
whole
A
different
different option.
dialogue.
So right.
Yeah.
So
But I
what
can
the
see.
outcome is, you get to watch your program with your glass of wine. Okay. So that's the outcome in that instance, isn't it?
It is
Right.
the outcome in
But
that.
how you feel about it.
You see, the feeling would be I could never watch that program because it would just be like,
Feel so guilty. You'd be
be
thinking,
guilty.
karma's
The
coming,
farmers get
it's
you.
coming for
And
me down the
also,
pub.
how would I feel if I really wanted to talk to somebody and they said,
Oh, blimey. Oh, you're getting into putting yourself in the other
I
person's
put myself
shoes.
in
Oh
the other
my God.
person's shoes and I think, do you know, it's just, so I would really, so on that,
So
it's very valid and
that
it's very
doesn't seem to be
interesting.
an option that's working for you
It
then.
really isn't. The only option to me is do it.
So
But I know that's
do nothing,
me.
let them in.
But it doesn't
All right.
feel passive.
No. Let's just go with it though.
Okay
So
then.
you let them in. So you let
Yeah.
them in. So what's the outcome in that situation?
I have a headache.
Okay. Yeah, you have a headache.
I probably am quite angry and thinking
Yeah.
we've had
Oh,
this
I just
conversation
watch this.
50, but we've also the problem we've spoken about this 100 billion
Yeah,
times
yeah,
already, and
yeah,
we're
yeah,
going nowhere with it, and we're going
yeah.
nowhere with it
Okay.
again.
So that's the outcome. You get to, you don't get to watch your program, you get to listen to them blather on, and you might feel a bit pissed off about it.
I think that's very fair. I think that's a very fair sum up of that. Yeah.
I like, well, I've got one here. I've got the one where you could lie, say, I'm just going out. You could answer the door, say, I'm just going out. And when I did my assertiveness training, a woman who delivered the training, she said there was somebody there was a time when their family all used to go around in their coats in the house. So if this particular person came to the door, they could say, we're going out. But if other people came to the door, they could say, oh, we've just got in, and take their coat off.
You see,
that's a pretty big commitment to not actually being assertive and telling that person what's going on.
karma still stands.
Karma still stands. Yeah, so that's one possibility. So you could actually say how you feel. I mean, let's just go with this one.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
imagine this is a possibility. They come to the door and you say, I'm really sorry. I mean, if it was me and I'd driven all the way from Kingsbridge, I'd be pissed off if you said this to me, but let's face it. But if you know they're just down the road, if you just say, look, I'm really sorry. I've had a hell of a day and I'd love to see you, but just not now. Can we make a time to meet up tomorrow? See, there's a that doesn't feel like that's twigging karma off. That's a reasonable
I think
way.
it's very reasonable and very good, and I'm not sure how this goes. And I think it's to do with not being assertive. I would find that difficult.
Yeah, but then you see, it's only in a situation where you want it to change. Even though you might think, do you know what, I will feel pissed off with this, but I'm just going to go with it with this person. If you have they've come around for a reason, it's what it is.
So I'm just going to throw this in, which is wrong. I have told them very, very, very clearly, many, many, many times, but it's go.
All right.
But I think that it's an unusual setting. But I do see that honesty is, if I was in that other person's shoes, I could say, I think I couldn't say that, and I think I should, but I probably could say, I can give you 5 minutes or 10 minutes.
Okay. All right.
Now that's not right. I acknowledge that.
That's probably that, and that's it. No, it's not that it's not right. I'd say that is an option. You could actually try that one. If you think you could come to it and you say, I could do this, I could say,
I've had a hell of a day. I've got a terrible headache. I am going to go to bed at 1:30, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But I can make you a quick coffee or a cup of tea.
But then I'm going to have to go to bed.
Then I'm
so you framed it.
Yes.
So in whatever way you do that, you've actually been honest. So would you feel better about that? Would you feel, even if you have to listen to them say the same thing over again, would you feel a bit better about that?
I think it's what would suit me, although I would envy hugely somebody that just says
bye the day.
But I do have that thing about how would I feel if I had something?
So they might feel hurt. They might feel hurt.
But I thought if I
But,
could,
you know,
if I went to somebody and they said, I can't do this, but I can give you a coffee and just a bit of a hug,
mm,
that's what I
yeah,
can do right now.
yeah,
And
yeah,
but I also think it's quite interesting that people aren't that honest.
yeah.
But I think we live on these different levels where we have to live. I had I'm not stopping you with your stuff, but I had an amazing friend who unfortunately is no longer with us. But when she was first diagnosed with her disease, we made this pact to be completely and utterly honest.
Great.
And I said, if you need me at 3 o'clock in the morning, you don't think twice. You ring me.
Yeah.
If I don't fancy getting out of bed, I'll tell you to bugger off.
Yeah.
And I said, it isn't, I can't come, I've had a glass of wine and I can't drive. I said, we're completely and utterly honest.
Yeah.
And although it was a terrible heading that we were going for, because it was, we knew the outcome.
Yeah.
It was probably, out of all the years and everything, it was probably the most lovely time.
Yeah.
Because we were at no point did we say bugger off, because we knew we could.
Yes, and I think it is like,
and she did ring me about 1 a.m. a couple of times, and I went, I'm there, mate, because I knew. One particular night, it was a dreadful night, dreadful, 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 and I've never had so much fun. There were three of us there, and there was an honesty, and I think what you're saying with this assertiveness is bringing it back. Is if we can find our honesty and have the courage to use it.
Remember, tell the truth. Is it kind? Is it necessary? So it's not that kind of stupid kind of thing that we see in Liar Liar, where the person, where Jim Carrey has to tell the truth all the time, and it's not like, when we say, oh, that was just a white lie, and all that kind of stuff. You think, well, it's still a lie though, isn't it? Really?
Yeah.
So you're saying that, but you're saying it with some kind of empathy with the other person. And you're just saying, this is where I'm at.
And it was an amazing thing that I felt I could just speak the truth.
Yeah.
And also gave her permission to speak the truth. Because you're never going to annoy me. You're never going to get rid of me. You're never going to... It's like, I know now. I don't have to go around in the morning and go, are you okay? Should you have rung me? Because you would have rung me if you needed. And I think there's a whole freedom. To that.
And as I say, it's an option. It's an option. So you might get into whatever situation it is that you're in, and you might kind of say, actually, that's a bit difficult for me to do at the moment. I could go this far. I could try this one out. I can see whether that works a little bit better for me. I may have to go the whole hog at some point, whatever it is. But actually, do you know what? I'm just going to put up with it for a while.
Right here.
It's like a friend being too late. For a while, I've had those friends, and I put up with it for a while, and then I just thought,
now it's not working.
Now.
Now I'm going to mention it. Give her the option. Or him the option. Or them the option. Anymore. It's like
anymore.
But it's I think it's that honouring yourself with your truth. And I think there's a self-honour to assertiveness.
Which that's in the way that I'm okay, you're okay. I'm just standing up for myself. I'm not putting you down.
No.
So that's what's going on. So if you decide you're going to go with the assertive option,
right?
But this is a situation that's been going on for a long time. You could have a script.
Okay.
Which I'm calling desk.
Okay.
Because it has 4 different parts.
Okay.
Describe what's going on. Express what you feel about it. Explain that. Maybe a bit of empathy in there. For the E, specify the changes you want to happen. And then consider and choose the consequences. That's your C. So in that sense, it's like describe what is happening. So if in the instance that we've just had, it's just say, so when you come round to see me, without giving me any notice, that's kind of what's happening. That's just what's happening. When this happens, not being judgmental, I feel a bit put upon. I feel whatever it is you feel. So you're just describing what's happening and how you feel about it. So you're kind of explaining what you feel about it, and you just might empathize with them. I understand you know, you might just come on the spur of the moment, and you know, I know that you're quite a spontaneous person. However, it kind of doesn't work for me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, as you told me, I'm Mrs. Plan Ahead. So you describe what it is, and you kind of express your feelings and explain
Mm-hmm.
why, and maybe throw in a bit of empathy. You might specify the behaviour, what you want to change. So what I'd really like is, could you just text me before you're coming and let me know? Just that's it. That's my specific request. Could you do that? And then consider and choose the consequences. So if you could do that, it will be really great, because I'll feel much more able to welcome you in and we'll have a better time together. Or I'll be able to tell you if I can't see you at that time, so I'll just feel much better about it. And if that doesn't happen, it may be that we don't see each other so often. So positive and negative consequences,
No,
but only ones that you're happy with.
I think what's interesting about what you've said is to describe and express, because thinking about this similar situation with different people, I'm not picking on somebody,
Right.
but with different people, you can go, you just keep popping in, and it's when you've got nowhere else to go and you've got nothing else to do.
No, you see, we're getting in a bit of judgment here.
No, but you can. I'm talking about not. This is not. This is observation. This is what happens over time.
No. You are interpreting their actions. And you can really only describe what's happening for going on for you.
Okay, so you could say, I feel I'm your last chance.
Yes, yeah.
I feel
this is how it makes me feel.
You know, it's like I'm always the one when you've rung everybody else.
Yeah.
You just dump yourself on me.
Now, dump is a little bit.
Okay. But what I'm saying is the same circumstance might be, I know that you value, I feel that you value, and you've come around to see me.
Yeah.
And you feel that
you can't tell them how they feel.
Well, okay, I feel
I appreciate that.
Well, but what I'm saying is that however you value it, that description and your own feelings, which is interesting because we keep going to somebody else and it's their own feelings.
Yeah.
Might make you have a slightly different specification and consequences. It might be like, I feel that this is going nowhere over and over.
Okay.
And therefore, I'm going to end it. Whereas somebody else might say, I do really feel that you're struggling. I'm just saying, yes. So actually, that evaluation, and you
might try that conversation first,
where
the other one might come later on.
But almost the description and expression, evaluation of that might be different. It's not just anyone who comes.
Depends on the situation and the person
and what you're feeling about it, because what you're feeling is usually right.
Yes, go with your gut instinct.
Yeah. So I just thought, as you said it, that it's not that act, it's the whole desk principle that could be that act.
You would have a different set of options, outcomes, and feelings from that person,
Well, that's right.
And it is, people sometimes feel they can be more assertive with their family or less assertive with their family. They can be more assertive with people they don't know or people they don't know. So it could be in that situation, you know. So, you know, you have to look at how you feel comfortable about it. But it is just a way of saying, am I in this situation? Would I like my voice to be heard? Am I feeling like when I'm in this situation, my voice is not heard? And I am just really not happy about that. And so I'd like to change it.
Yeah. And if my voice isn't heard and I don't care.
Yeah.
There's your options.
I'll just leave this job. I'll just leave this job then.
Well, this is like,
leave this friend. It doesn't matter.
It's just music. Get over it.
Yeah, exactly. Not what I said to my mother, no. So there we go. So there's some ideas. So, you know, we know that, you know, midlife and beyond can be that time when women sometimes do feel a bit less confident and a bit more anxious. Now, I'm not saying this deals with anxiety. This is like something that might just help if you're kind of getting into that situation where you're thinking, oh, I used to be more confident. Why can't I be confident anymore? So you could try these things out.
I think a lot of
You know,
mums might get this because
yeah,
they've negotiated is all the way through because you've been a mother, you've got to do it,
yeah, yeah.
you're negotiating all different relationships and you forget how to put your, and I do see it a lot when people are leaving
Mm,
home,
I
that
know.
the mum is still the mum and you think actually that role has been there for so long, you've got very habitualized by the
Yes.
role.
And you are kind of infantilizing the other person and you're rescuing them. And as long as you keep
And
rescuing
then
them, they can't do it on their
and
own.
we've spoken briefly before about the lady forgiveness, the
Yeah.
estrogen that
Mm-mm.
always wants to be the peacemaker.
Yeah, yeah.
And as that leaves, you suddenly think, oh, I'm not the peacemaker anymore. And you think,
Mm.
therefore, I'm an awful person. But
No.
actually, I think it's an
This is
interesting idea to
why
bring back this
women get the
thinking.
reputation for being a bit kind of, ornery
Yeah,
at
and
this age because
whereas
they're less amenable.
actually it's just us becoming us in a different way. So
Yeah.
I think it's
So
an
there we go.
interesting thing. Have a look at those assertive techniques.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Alison.
That's
And
right.
we apologise for looking slightly different today in the backdrop and so on and
Yeah.
so forth, but we thought you might like some
Yeah.
sparkles on a
Sparkle
sunny
instead.
day. And don't forget, like, subscribe, ring the bell, all that stuff. Leave us
Yeah.
some comments, and we'll
See you next
see you
time.
next time.